everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Vibes Inside. I am Mariana and I am preparing here now to do a full moon reading in the sign of Aries, happening today on the 17th of October 2024. I'm gonna do my best with this reading, but I feel like there's a lot of noise around me. Noise in the building, in the streets, so bear with me if there's something coming in, right? Now you can probably hear it already. It's quite annoying actually. Anyway, what I want to say about this full moon is that it is in the sign of Aries, and Aries is like the beginning of something, that something is potentially changing. The full moon wants to wrap something up, like an era for Aries, and at the same time, when we wrap something up, or we kind of complete something, we can be ready to start something new, right? Or we can say we can have a final goodbye to something to start something new. Full moons are about wrapping up, like the fulfillment, coming to an end. Something is ready to be maybe different, or the stepping stone that you have received, you have gotten to, or the milestone you have gotten to, can now open other doors, right? But you kind of need to get to it, right? You kind of need to maybe make the last decisions. Yeah, I'm sorry about the noise, but I hope you bear with me here. I never think that this is a coincidence. It's like it's supposed to be an annoyance, right? Or there's supposed to maybe be something that is challenging, or even just a message I want to bring out here is supposed to be interrupted in some way. But I'm not going to let myself be interrupted in that way. I will try to make it anyway. I said that it's like there are these final steps that needs to come to a closure in some way, or you have to get to like the milestone post, right? For you to say, okay, I have completed whatever this is for me. I've completed this cycle of some kind to now go somewhere else. Okay, I'm just going to shuffle here while I speak here. So, I'm talking about Aries, and I have the green on the table. I have a green candle. I even have green clothes, and then I have some orange here, or, well, I can't really have like pure orange. Can you hear the noise? Right, okay. I can't have pure orange stones, but this is the closest that I get to it, right? And orange is about the sacral chakra, which is about the womb and creativity. You could say motherhood to a certain extent, or maybe something that has to do with Earth Mother, because I do get a feeling of like nature religion. The green color here connects with springtime. Aries is springtime. It connects with the blossoming or sprouting of something, right? But the blossoming and sprouting of something perhaps needs a winter first, right? Maybe something needs to go through a winter and rebirth before it can start sprouting. And I say that there's this, like, you need to get to the milestone. The milestone is perhaps the winter, and allow something to shift. To have a new beginning, sometimes we need to let go of something old. Otherwise, you're just kind of still repeating from an old place. You're still in an unfinished place, starting to sprout or build something new, but the remnants of something old it still has a hook in you, right? So it can never really be that new, right? Unless we are willing to sacrifice or give it up, something that was prior. So the green color also represents fire. In Chinese medicine, the wood element's color is green, and the wood element connects with fire, as in the forest sprouting and the springtime. So I feel like I have something about kind of a mix here. I don't have like I have a bit of Chinese influenced information here, you know. I have a bit of crystal information. I have tarots, I have my intuition, I have colors. It's like a mix of different books, you could say. It's like different books that wants to come together and bring in a message here to a certain extent. I have tarot cards, I have oracle cards, and I feel it's like there is a coming together from, you could say, almost like different corners, right? That there's an input from this side and from this side and from another and another, and together they bring this message. Maybe this is literally what you feel. You talk to 5 different people, they give you different input, but all of it somehow makes sense, or all of it somehow, when you gather it all together, shows you something, right? It shows a picture, it gives a message. It's maybe they are similar, though they are very different. Does that make sense, right? So people you know, and you know them for being very different people, like they have different educational level, they have different convictions normally, and suddenly they tell you something. And when you take all of it and put it together, it's kind of a similar message, right? Almost like all of them have received a prompt, or when you combine them, you get a new perspective. Let's say you combine different religions, right? Different cornerstones, perhaps, right? You combine different messages, and when you combine them, you get the one you need. The advice from 5 different or 4 different directions, north, east, west, and south, right? That you get when you combine them, you see more clearly, or you get to the milestone that I talked about. Does that make sense? Something like that. There is, I feel like, an input of, it would be the same as, you could say, a religious party and a political party and some outside groups, that if they somehow stand in front of each other, you know, like or minority groups, that suddenly they stand there and face each other, and together they figure out that there is a commonality, or there is something in the middle that we can work on, right? That we can agree on, or something. Or when we get down to the base or the core of something, we are the same, right? Or we want the same. Personally, I believe that this has to do with simply living and existing. That to a certain point, no matter what group or religion you belong to, all we want deep down is having the ability, the space, the room, and the food and everything to live like we want to live. We want to be able to be us and have our beliefs, have our religion, perhaps have our political convictions or other things. But the point is that all we all want is to be able to be here, live here, have our children here safely, next to each other without problems, right? That to a certain point we want to be safe. All of us want to be safe, though we are different, right? Though we are, I have this feeling of like a recognition that we all just want to be here, right? Like we all just want our needs to be heard and understood and respected by the other party, right? We all just want to be able to live the lives that we prefer, or have the necessities, right, to be here, right? That there's nobody, that there's nobody more than the other, right? We just all want to be, all life here wants just to be here. All species are trying to, or subspecies, or even genres of people or groups in humanity, inside humanity, subgroups inside the concept of humanity. We have many, right? We have many DNA smaller changes, like for instance the color we have, or am I Asian, or am I European, or am I American, or am I from Australia, right? And then there is this concept of group orientation, that we feel more familiar and more safe within a certain group. And sometimes we will need to shift groups, right? Like in the Divergent film, that perhaps there's a core in you that feels like you belong actually in the Buddhist community, where you were actually trained and grew up in a Catholic community. But if you feel like deep down that I belong over here instead, there should be an acceptance of going there, right? And joining a life where you feel more fulfilled, where you feel safer, where you feel you belong. So I have that feeling of like willpower, wood energy is about, or the sprouting. There could be something about wanting to come out of the closet or speak your truth in some sense. Join that religious group you have been thinking about, but it also means leaving perhaps another one to get there, right? That you cannot be here and there. But then again, what if there was a group where there was no religion per se? It means that many different people could come together about one single, very important message, as I just said, a political figure, a religious figure, minority figures could come together. And when they look each other in the eyes, what actually matters is that there should be room for all of us to exist somehow, right? To all, no matter what kind of group you are or you relate to, there should be some kind of common ground. There should be a space, right, where everybody could come, right? No matter what kind of gender you are, or religious group, or sexual orientation, or hair color, or skin color, or height or weight, or whatever, it should be possible to just exist, right, without any judgments or things like that. I have that feeling here that there's something that wants to sprout, something that, like in spring, that wants to be built, or that wants to be a seed that is tried now to be planted, that wants to sprout and allow for something, or a seed that is supposed to become a space of union instead of a space of separation and judgment. Something like that, I feel like. Whether something is happening on the political scene, or this is just an internal thing. I also, with the wood element here and the fire element, I get, I said nature religions earlier, like paganism. There are many of them if you want to dive into this, but the point is that it has an orientation towards nature, Mother Earth, the cycles of life, the ecosystem, you could say the rules of Earth, how life persists on Earth. What is the cycle? What does life and death mean exactly? And how these two components are constantly working with each other to keep our Earth spinning with the life that it has. Nature, religion can correspond also with the Roman god of Jupiter, or you could say the planet Jupiter, which is about, in old Roman religion, Jupiter was about like the ruler of all life. So not particular favored life, but all life. And I feel there is something about that, this all life thing, that all life has a right in some way. And again, Jupiter is Sagittarius energy, it's fire energy in astrology. So it's a big god, right? It's a huge god that was very present in all nature religions before the Bible came and before Christianity came. So once it was a very big religion, I feel there is something happening where more of this could come back maybe, or be initiated again around the world, subgroups and things like that, that come together maybe again from different different angles, that come together wanting to also save the world, save Gaia, save nature, right? Protect nature, because we live so closely related to nature, right? We need nature to be in our favor, you could say, right? Otherwise, we have a very limited lifespan. The Roman worship of Jupiter was also related to him being a sky God, and that he ruled the sky, thunder and storm. I've talked about that there's a storm coming. I've said that for almost 3 years now. And I don't know if it has to do with this, that there's something. I said also that the mother energy is changing, something about Gaia is changing. There's something happening, and relating to this the fire, which is life force energy. I want to say it wouldn't surprise me if there will be a tendency among especially feminine groups, and this can both be men and women, right? But those who feel the feminine energy more closely to their heart inside, that is going to choose a more nature-based orientation. Like there's a movement towards that, I feel like. And Aries being the starting point, like that is the first zodiac, right? That there's something that is coming to an end. A reign, or something is coming to an end, or something is completing or becoming ripe, you could say, to, as I said, get out of the closet and show itself, right? That there's something that is trying to want to birth itself, but it has been in the womb, you could say, and now it's ready, as Aries, the first sign, to be birthed, right? It's ready to get out of the closet and say, here I am, right? This is who I am. This is what I believe in. This is where I want to go. And this is because it feels right. And that's the point of it. It feels right. It's time, right? It's time for this storm to happen, or for this storm to come out. This voice to be like, but you need to get to that milestone where now I have to speak, or now I have to birth myself, right? Or it has to come out now. And it has to do with your will. Wood is fire. It has to do with willpower. It has to do with life force. It's a particular life force that wants to show itself, that wants to not be silent anymore, or something like that. Do you get my point? I hope you get my point. This is what I get. I get that feeling. And perhaps there has been a gathering, like from different voices. Like maybe there has been a gathering, or like a soul retrieval from east, west, north, and south to gather this voice together, to become ready to open the door and say, here I am, right? Be ready to be your own emperor. Aries energy is emperor energy also, like to take that leadership, own who you are, or something like that. But to own that, you also need to let go of when you didn't own who you were, when you were hiding it, right? So you have to let go of the hiding, perhaps. That is the milestone. You get to that milestone where, okay, I don't need to hide anymore, or be uncertain. I'm not uncertain anymore. I'm actually certain. And when you are certain, you burst out of the door and speak your voice. But as long as you are uncertain, you may be hiding. And maybe that milestone, as I said, it's like a ripening or a birthing process where you are birthing something, or someone is in your life perhaps birthing something, and they may come out and show it now. It's time, right? It's time. The fulfillment, the full moon, it has been working, molding, growing, and now it's ready, right? Something could be happening during this full moon time or the next fortnight or something like that. Maybe something is released, set, done, or something like that, because it's ripe, it's ready to speak up, it's ready to show itself, it's ready to be announced, something like that. Perhaps with the help of friends, as I said, the gathering of these support systems or soul fragments or whatever that may be for you. I just have this feeling of like a gathering. The orange is about the womb, so something is become ready to be birthed, right, to come out. It's being created, it's being what is that called? It's being gathered like pieces, bits and pieces, like puzzle pieces. It's being gathered, and now the puzzle is finished. You can show it now, right? Okay, something like this is what I have, like that is what I feel. And it can be in your personal life, in your, like, maybe it's a bit of a secret, you haven't told it to anyone. Maybe you are in contact with someone and you know something is going on, and now they come and tell you, right? Now they tell you that they are gay, or now they tell you that they want this divorce because they never really wanted to get married in the first place, or now someone is telling you they want to move to around the globe and live somewhere else, right? Because that is just who they want to be, this Buddhist. So they are leaving the church, right? Where you are, perhaps, right? They're leaving that. And you may maybe not understand it, right? But it's because someone is taking their own personal leadership. That is what Aries also is about. It's about this drive to go towards the things that are right for you, no matter what it is. Maybe you are the one who can see someone is leaving, and you have that acceptance. Though they are not like you, they don't choose the same as you. You see, they need to go, right? They have to go. Of course they have to go. Because all life is precious. All life is valid. All life orientation is valid. So put that into your situation. See where if it either it resonates with you or it doesn't, right? But this is what I get for this full moon in Aries. Something is becoming ripe, or is close to becoming ripe, to start actually showing itself. Let's have to look at the center card here. Do I get wind? And I talked about storm, didn't I? I said that, yeah, I must say I feel like Jupiter, in Roman Greek orientation, Jupiter is also considered or related to Zeus. So Zeus was a great leader, right? He was a big god, masculinity, fiery masculinity, not looking back. It like Zeus is like not looking back. This is about leadership where you're not looking back. Like, there's no time for regrets, or regretting that you may have lived a different life will not help you, right? It's just time now. Be Zeus, be Jupiter, be that leader. Even though it creates a storm, right? Whatever. Wind can also be about air elements. So these are about thoughts or voice. voicing yourself, your own orientation, your own, and look again now, I don't know if it's going to come back, but the noise I talked about in the beginning, it's actually not here right now. So sometimes it's about doing the talking, even though there is noise around you, and keep doing it. Keep speaking your truth, though there is noise around you. If you keep to it, sticking to it, eventually the noise dies out. It stops. And even if it comes back, you just keep moving, right? It's like an unstoppable storm or wind, right? It's like an unstoppable, you can see like there's this figure in the background. It's not quite clear yet, but it's almost there, right? It's like something is definitely shaping itself here, becoming more apparent, more, you could say, from maybe being a bit confused to becoming more clear, right? To maybe being, as I said, more a bit uncertain about what your message is or what you actually stand for, to become certain, knowing it for real, needing to go there, needing to say this, needing to stand up for yourself, needing to, get out of the closet, and showing who you are, or like she has a bit of like, it looks like branches here, or could even look a bit like atlas or something like that. Again, I get this feeling of nature. We have a bird up here as well. The colors here are very nature-based. So I get like a nature, like a native person, right? An Indian, native Indian. I get, again, nature, religion. I get something like that here. It's just something is stirring, right? It could be your body that is stirring, right? That there's something stirring, like a message or something that maybe it's not quite there yet, but it's becoming more and more clear. And maybe you know that, right? Maybe you know that if I'm going to tell this, if I'm going to say this, it will create a storm around me, right? There will be a lot of noise. There will be a lot of trying to persuade me to not go there, or trying to argue with me, or trying to, and maybe it's even in an internal process that you argue with yourself. But something is happening, right? Something is stirring, you could say. The wind could also talk about, because it is in the center here, the center is about solar plexus, it is the body, it is the gut, it is the creative center, it is the power center. Solar plexus is your personal power. Something is moving and shifting. Maybe you feel like you have more, let's say you have more air in the body, like or in the, you have more, maybe you feel bloated or something like that, because something is happening here, something is stirring, right? And it's becoming more and more clear, ready to, as I said, it's becoming closer and closer to the milestone. Maybe someone is about to give birth here. And you have, like bubbles and things going on, stirring in the gut area at this point. And again, it's something very nature-like. Again, now, I get something. Someone could definitely be about giving birth, like physically giving birth, because a physical birth, a woman going through pregnancy and giving birth is very natural, right? It's some of the most remaining natural things that we still have in our lives, and we really have no control over it, right? Even if you give birth in the hospital, sometimes births go wrong, right? And I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying it's one of those processes that still relate back to nature, right? It relates back to the time when there were no hospitals, when there were no, you relied on the weather, you relied on a cave, you relied on help from others, you relied on the wind blowing in the right direction, the right goddess was there, the worship of, it was a different time, it was a different belief, right? We still give birth in the same way. That has not changed. It's the same way, right? We still come into the world in the same way as we did millions of years ago. It's still the same process. Nothing has changed about that. We still have to get out of that womb, right? And that is a natural process. There's something about those natural, I don't know, honoring natural processes, someone who is maybe about to give birth, but not wanting anesthesia, not wanting pain meds, or wanting a natural birth, wanting something to be organic, something, shamanic almost, like back to the roots of nature. For the woman to give birth, it has to be in her environment, right? A sterile hospital is not her environment. Giving birth is messy, like it's not sterile, right? It's messy, like being in the. I think many women do that when they go through pregnancy. They think about the birth. The closer you get to it, you think about it. You think about what environment, what kind of. Some give birth at home in a water tank, right? Some want a shaman there, or a there's another word for it, but definitely like a, I wouldn't say a witch or a Wicca witch, but there's something about the grounded and the earthiness of giving birth for a woman that sometimes brings her in this mode of needing the environment to be aligned with the process she's going to go through in a moment, right? She's going to go through something in a moment. And everything around her in that moment has to be aligned with that. I'm not saying this is for all women, but if you feel a strong connection to nature, you could be such one. You could be one who wants you want a medicine woman with you when you give birth, right? You want it to be at home. You want it to be calm, perhaps, or you want your child to be birthed into an environment that is aligned with it, where it's welcome, right? With blood and everything, right? You want it to be because giving birth is a messy thing, right? It's not sterile and clean, and and um, and and the child must be birthed into an environment that is fully accepting of it, with blood and everything, you know. There's a strong need to accept your body and the process your body is going through, even if it's not a physical childbirth. You may be going through changes with your body. It's like there's something that is calling us to connect with, yeah, something that is the opposite of sterile and clean and nice and pleasant, and this is different. Like it's a voice that says that no matter whether you are a president or you are a starving African child, we were all born the same way, right? We were all born from a woman's womb. We are all children of this earth, born in the same way, given different opportunities, but coming from the same common source. And as I said, we have done that like since humanity was even a thing, or human ancestry was even a thing millions of years back. It's the same process, right? There's something about no matter who you are, we all come from the same source, the same unchanged evolutionary birth point. And that should matter, right? It should matter. Because there has been a woman carrying this child, no matter whether she was poor or rich or privileged or whatever, she carried this child. And all life is precious. There's something about that. All life is precious. And there's this, I feel like, a growing sense of awareness, perhaps, among us, that we have not been honoring this. We have not been honoring life. Like all life. And I have that feeling of Jupiter coming. So there could be a sense of religion change, right? That more and more could be changing their views towards a more accepting understanding of the concept of life, all life. Not good and bad life, or white and black life, or yellow and blue life, or handsome and beautiful life and ugly life. That all life is beautiful, or all life is welcome and has a right to be here, right? That there's something about that here. Five of water. in the ground position here, or root position, 5 of water is a grief card. 5 of cups is grieving. Root position. So this could relate, root position is typically something about the roots, where you come from, family history, ancestry, something like that. Just give me a moment. It's like, yeah, normally I would say this is a grieving card. It's a, but again, when I look at her, it's almost like she could be birthed here, right? She could come out of this shell, the hiding place, becoming more certain, as I said, but coming out here comes with a sense of grief. She has to leave behind who she were before, right? Before she was in hiding, maybe she felt more safe there. Though she was unhappy, needing to hide herself, now she's coming out, and it comes with a sense of, in uncertainty, maybe a feeling of being unsafe, or that there are feelings here, like Cups card, right? There are feelings here. Like this birth, this milestone, or this birth is not, it should be a happy event. It should be a happy event, but it comes with a lot of maybe distress here, like the wind can be tumultuous, right? That someone is not sure whether they want to be birthed here, I feel like. That if I come out, what is it going to create, right? Every birth comes with a change, right? That once you are in the womb, you are there. It's a complete, it's a, like a bubble that is unaffected by everything else around it. It's kind of its own little universe. But when it's breached and it comes out here, it gets, like suddenly it's mixed with all this other water, right? Suddenly it's mixed with everyone else's consciousness, or everything else that is here. It's seen now. It cannot stay in the womb. Like when it's in the womb, we haven't met it yet, right? We haven't said hello to this little child yet. It's still in the making. There's a sense of privacy and a sense of respect around the belly, right? That we know that it's going to come when it's ready, when it's due time. And when it comes out, it was supposed to be ready, right? But coming out comes with a sense of grief. Like we kept out, yeah, but we are also leaving something. So this could talk about, a birthright, a childbirth, where a child leaves this private space that is made only for them and only they are in there, to now needing to get out and be with everybody else out there. So they get into a world that is mixed, that is one big mix of life or thoughts, or it's no longer their world, right? It's no longer their little world. It's now a big world with all kinds of life and thought patterns and ideas and convictions and everything, right? It's someone is afraid to birth themselves here. I feel like there's a memory of, like, maybe when you came into this world, like the birthing came with a big sense of grief, like because something was, like this world you had where you were the one in charge, you could say, where you were the one who ruled everything, like, that when we get out of that, it cannot persist. Like, you cannot not be engaged with others. You cannot not attach yourself with your parents. You cannot not stay absolutely you. Like, there's a part of you that needs to engage, that needs to start communicating, screaming, that there's a part of you that needs to learn to speak. Underwater, in water, when we are in the belly, we don't speak, right? It's a different language. Like, we have maybe more of a water tendency, right? We have what maybe dolphins do, like a more sonic way of speaking, where when we get out, that sonic communication style is not normal. It's not the way that it's lost, perhaps, actually. And we start emerging with the wind here, right? Maybe you have an Aries child, right? And there's something going on about this, right? That maybe they don't speak, they can't communicate. There's something. It's a confusion, right? That something has been confused, but now becomes not confused. Does that make sense? Something like that? It's like it's ready, like it has been in this confused state, and now it has gotten to not being confused anymore. So now it can open the doors and get out or whatever. Does that make sense? It's like let's have a look at this one. So I get sacred gratitude, reverent appreciation and prayer. Again, there is this nature worship, like she's touching the tree, like the origin of where we come from. There could be something about maybe the wind here has to do with, and it's in the middle. The middle to me can sometimes also be referred to as the trunk. So these are the roots, this is the crown of the tree, and this is the trunk, right? And the trunk having communication with the trunk here, like she's speaking with the tree, like having a sense of communication, a sense of telepathy or sonic vibe communication maybe here, because she's reviving. There's something here about, I get a feeling of like a grief that something has been lost in birth, in birth. That when something becomes birthed, it is lost to us, because we become verbal, right? We get a voice, like a speaking voice, a throat chakra. But when we are in the womb, we speak differently. That's the sacred chakra. We speak differently. In the womb, we speak through like sonic vibration. We don't have a voice. The God feeling that people refer to has to do with this. I feel like it has to do with like a sense of like a sonic vibration, or I said bubbles in or a bloated sense of God, that it's like a God voice that could potentially be sonic. Or what is that called? Like echolocation, right? That you send some beam out and you're waiting for a response back. You send a beam out, you wait for a response back from this is a trunk, right? Of a tree. She's standing here with her hands in appreciative appreciation and prayer and gratitude. It's definitely something about nature appreciation and prayer, something about a nature religion. It's stirring, maybe stirring within many of us, especially feminines, I want to say, and this can be both men and women, right? Something is stirring inside. Maybe there is something, again, bloating or bubbles or something. It's like a reconnection with a communication form, I feel like. A way of communication. I've talked about whether telepathy is coming more in. But telepathy, we think that telepathy is through the mind space. That I suddenly and instantly I get like a voice, or I get what I call an information package. It's like suddenly and instantly an information package comes in, and I can unfold it like a zip file to see what's in it, right? That it all happens in the mind space. This feels a bit like that, but not in the mind. It feels like it's happening in the gut feeling. This is also like a zip file. It's also like a communication style, but it's not words to be interpreted. This is different. It's a different kind. And it comes from, I feel like it comes from earth. Like the trees have connection, right? The roots go into the earth and the crown opens up towards the sky. It's like something is like one of the most connected energy source connected creatures on earth are trees. Like they're connected both in the ground and towards the sun, right? They are connected from above and from below. We are not connected in that way. Like we don't have our feet in the ground and our head is not necessarily energized by the sun. But then look at her, like look at this. It's almost like something is coming and energizing her. She's touching the tree. It's like there's this light beam around her, like she's being energized in some way. You know, like our energy source is primarily food, right? Food and water, right? We need food and water, we would say, right? It almost feels like she can connect with something. Perhaps there is something about if you believe, some find that if they pray to God, that they feel God's presence. They feel that God helps them feel safe and helps them being vitalized, you know, with the Holy Spirit. Maybe it's the same here, that if you believe in a nature God like Jupiter, and you worship, like that is going to be your worship, that you will feel that something energizes you and protects you, like that it becomes part of your auric field, that you're protected by Gaia or something like that. And when you believe in it enough, you actually create it, right? That it becomes big enough to give you a sense of life force protection or something like that. This card is like there's something about the water, like when a child is in the womb, it lays in all this water, and what happens in there, right? It can all it knows is this, right? All it knows is this. This is the space that we all come from. Like this is what all women do, right? They have a water reserve that the child grows in, that we are water creatures. That is how we come into the world. We know that we need a lot of water, right? We need to drink a lot of water to keep ourselves hydrated. Even if we walk on earth, there could be something about a lot of water is actually inside the trunk of a tree. You can even like make a hole here and what is that called? It's like tree juice, right? That some of the fluid from the tree, especially during springtime in April or so, you can actually get some of the juice from the tree. It is said that the water that we have on Earth actually originally came from Jupiter, like the planet Jupiter, through the space, and landed on Earth. And that that Earth at that time was actually more of a ashes, volcano-like Earth. There was no life. There was only the remnants of birth, the aftermath of birth, and it was still kind of a burning planet. That we somehow, that the water is a reservoir that we all come from. No matter whether we today walk on earth and we consider ourselves to be land creatures, that originally we were created in water, that our lungs were not used for breathing, and that the navel cord was our, we'd say, food source and oxygen source. There's something about where we come from, I feel like. And again, Aries is the first sign, it's the birth. It's considered the toddler, like the young one, the child, the little one, the new one. There's something about our original like the original us. Like this is our roots, right? We come from this, all of us. No matter whether you're privileged or not. No matter what skin tone, or we all come from this. And when we lay in here, we have not yet been, confronted with the world. We have not yet been confronted with whatever rules apply out there, whatever prejudice or whatever. When we are in here, we don't know, right? We don't know yet about many of the things that come when we get out. When we are birthed, something is sacrificed, something very vital, something like an integrity about who you are. That what you are is precious life. That would be what nature religions would say. You are precious life. But many people grow up in a world with a lot of prejudice and pressure and things they have to learn and be to be accepted and so on. But that doesn't apply when you're in here, right? When you lay in this womb, you are not yet exposed to all of that. So when we are birthed, we lose something, right? We lose a part of us, or we lose a non-invaded part of ourselves. Here we are like an island, right? An island alone in our own universe. We are here. But then we are birthed, and when we are birthed, it's like now someone has, they have found the island, right? And they come on board, or it's like our ship, that this is our own ship in the sea. But when we are becoming birthed, it's like another ship is there, and they are boarding our ship, right? They come in with all of their stuff, and they do something, and they start fixing or changing stuff around you from the moment you are born. So when we are born, we give up something to exist in another world where we are not an island or our own ship anymore. We are not our own person anymore. We become linked with the surrounding world that we are in. And in that process, something is given up. So when a child is birthed, well, I don't know if we can say this for all children, but something is lost in that process, and something new is emerging, right? And every time something new is emerging, we don't know exactly what we are going to face, right? So when we open the door, as I say, we come out of the closet, we will not exactly know 100% what is going to happen. But what we do know is that we have already one experience of this, even though it is deeply hidden in the subconscious mind. We already have one of those, that every time you want to make a big change, or you are birthing yourself into something else, what could come could be a bit like a storm, right? Like the one we had when we were born. You had no way of knowing. No child knows exactly what they are born into. As I said, some are born into privileged life, and some are born into starvation. You don't know exactly when you are in here. When you get out, you probably will know within a short amount of time. Again, our life force depends on it. Life force, wood, fire, energy, depends on the survival of our life force, us. Depends on what you are born into. And there is already a memory here. A memory of and that's sometimes I feel like why people are not just bursting into like a new endeavor. Some do, like they just burst into it, right? And maybe they had more of a safer birth, perhaps. Maybe there were birthing conflicts. Maybe something happened during your birth year, right? That it was a difficult delivery. So subconsciously there's already an imprint of what change means, like big change. So the confusion here can be about not feeling that you're ready, right? Not feeling that you can do this, or what if, all the what ifs, what if this new beginning that I may desperately want, actually, I really want it, but I want to go and be someone like this, right? I want to be someone like this. I want to trust this and honor this, right? I want to become someone like this. But what if I do that? What is it going to be? Like, am I going to be safe, right? That could be what this confusion is about here. Like, she is almost there, I want to say. Like, she's definitely more there than not there. Like, there may be still a bit of confusion, but it's coming. Like, I feel the full moon, it's this completion of building this nature woman here, or nature reviving an inner witch in you, or reviving someone who connects with nature in a way. But you know, like, if you want to say this out loud in your Catholic family, and you want to leave your family and move somewhere where pagans are, or vicars, or things like that, maybe you are confused or not quite certain yet, you know, because you are going to leave the family. Again, as I said, when we are in the womb, this is all we know, right? And for what we know, this has been safe to us. Then we get birthed. What hands receive you when you are birthed? And what do you learn here? Probably subconsciously about change, big change. This is the same thing. Like, now it's just you are in a more mature body, you are older. You can make this decision on your own, and you are going towards something that potentially could act as new hands, you know. And what is that going to be like? And that is what this is about. Like, there's this, I believe everybody who is coming out of the closet with something goes through something like this. Like, there is a reason why they don't burst out with it in the first place. Like, the leadership has to become strong enough. The urge, the feeling, the firewood, the flame has to become strong enough that you have to do it, right? It's your birthright. It's something you are. It's something you have to go towards. And it cannot be hidden or uncertain anymore. You know, that's what this feels like. I think for a person who goes through this feeling of not being uncertain about revealing a sexuality, about being gay, if you have nobody in your family, nobody at all who is gay, like, the opening the door and just saying it comes perhaps with this feeling, like, if I need to do this and say this, I could be thrown out, right? My parents could potentially throw me out, disown me, you know. And I have to rely on this new community to actually accept me, be the hands that protect me, right? That I'm now with another group of people that understand me. They know exactly what I've been going through. They may have been disowned. They may have been, pushed outside the door and never allowed in again, and this to being accepted in this new group is important, right? Like the shift towards whatever the shift may be for you, it's important that you feel that you are sure, or you have found the right group, or you have found the right community, or the right, as I say, pagan, maybe you have found the right rituals or the right religion here. And when you go towards it, you hope that those hands will be better, right? That they will be better for you. That you will find belonging, that you will find family. This could be the feeling of finding a new family, finding resonance somewhere else, and acceptance and belonging. And that's why there's such gratitude here and appreciation. Because what you are joining here is home. Can I get one more card on this wind here? See, so I get King of Water here, right? King of Water is a water leader. It's Poseidon here, right? It's a water god. It's someone who is your it's a father, right? It's like a father. We see how he's smiling here. This little fish is now, like coming towards him here, swimming towards him into his hands. It's like you, and maybe you want someone to be there. Who understands your sonic vibe, who gets you, right? You're building something here. I feel like this one who is becoming more and more here, it's like this little fish. Like she's becoming more and more certain that she belongs here, right? That she belongs with this one. Like this is like, this is the trunk here. Like this king is the trunk. And she, the fish, this little fish here, she's the fish that wants to swim towards him. Go towards the tree here. The tree and this guy is the same. But there is an emotional or he communicates in a certain way, this guy. He's underwater, right? he communicates in a certain way. He has a certain vibe to him. There's a certain emotional or intuitive feeling. It's almost like returning into the womb, right? That he's the womb here, where you were once created, right? Because in that womb there is this big protection, right? That he is acting like a protection, like wanting to return to this womb here. A protector of all life. And he he has his hand, he accepts you, right? An accepting hand. But maybe again, this uncertainty and this windy picture here it's like a feeling that that you have not been certain, right? You have not been certain, or you've not been able to listen to this sonic communication style. You have not been able to trust it. You could say you have not been able to listen to your gut feeling. It has felt very unclear or unstable or uncertain to you. But now it's like you have to trust it somehow, right? You have to trust this. Normally we trust our brain, right? We trust the information we have around us. We trust when people communicating with us, when they speak to us. We trust the internet to a certain point, finding information. We trust school. We trust what we have learned to navigate the world we are in. But here you are navigating the water, right? Here you are navigating a different realm. It's a more feminine realm, the water realm. And in the feminine realm, you need another communication style. You need other tools. You need another language. A language that to a certain point could have been forgotten or unlearned when you are birthed, because the water disappears, right? When you are birthed, the water disappears, and it means the communication style that you may have been used to is all gone. It's gone. So this guy, he represents someone who understands this, someone who is like this. They communicate. This could be a water sign, a water, but it's could have been a bit of an unclear. You could have had an unclear receptance of the signal, right? That you may not have been hearing the signal, you have not been noting it, you have not been listening to it. And now it's like you're returning into the fold, or you're returning back to him. You're listening to him again. It's like someone coming back to listen to this guy, right? And he can represent emotion, intuition, the gut feeling. It's a different brain. Scientists say that we have, our head brain, but we also have a gut brain. But that gut brain corresponds in a different way. It communicates differently. So it's almost like someone who is wanting to come back home to learn this again, right? To learn who was I, like the full version of me. Who was I before I got out and I got flooded with this external world? Who was I when I was here? And it's like he's saying, you can come back to me and I'll tell you, right? You can come back to me and I'll tell you who you were, who you were when you were here. Before you got out, before the judgment, before the school education, before the newslet, like the news around you, before you had all of that information, who were you before that, right? When you were only you, before you were judged or before you were measured, before you were told certain things, before you were, you know, as I said, when you were born into a privileged home, you may grow up with the understanding that you belong to the upper class, that you're rich. And if you were born into a starving or environment, or parents who have very little, you will soon understand that you come from very poor circumstances, that there's very little. It shapes who you are. But this is before you knew, right? This is before you got out. It's before you. It's when you were still a blob in the womb, right? When you were still not influenced. Before you knew these other things about you, who actually have nothing to do with you, they have to do with the circumstances, the hands that received you, right? But who were you before that? And it's like there's something about wanting to return to figure out. And this guy, he knows. Like, he knows who you are. You are his fish, like you are his creation, right? And he can tell you, right? He will tell you who you were before you were told all kinds of stuff, before you were programmed with all kinds of information, before you needed to like attach yourself to others. Who were you before that? And there is a need to come back to something, to come back to an intuitive, emotional, maybe psychic realm here. And in that realm you can find it, and maybe this has been quite messy, right? Yet you have been trying to juggle your way through this. You have been trying to find your way back to him. This one. Who knows, right? And it has been messy, but more and more you find out what that is. And more you know it has to do with nature. It has to do with not the school system around you. It's something natural. It's something it's the mountains, it's the water here, it's the sea, it's the ocean, it's the woods, it's something of the natural world here. That is who you were before, that you have an orientation towards this world, this a nature orientation. This is the one you were before all of this. And you can find a sense of family here, or home, or connection that is different. Okay, let's have a look and look again. Isn't it true? There hasn't been any disturbance, right? I started out with a lot of noise around me, actually. And then I kept speaking, right? And then it stopped. Another card on this sacred gratitude card here. So I get Lala, and she is the saint of spoken words. Every word I say becomes a prayer. I am the author of my own story. So I have prayer and prayer, the spoken word. Maybe you can be someone who speaks, someone who can communicate. She stands surrounded by trees also here. Like maybe you can be a tree spokesperson, right? Because you have an ability to communicate with them, with something that, like some of the oldest creatures on earth are natural, right? I know there is a particular coral reef, I believe, that is where a particular organism is living that is very, very old. It's several thousand years old. Some trees are very old, can be several thousands years old also. And there's knowledge here. Like that's what he represents, right? There's knowledge. The water in the trees, for instance, here, that come directly from earth. There's knowledge in it, right? There's something that you are becoming more aware of. It's almost there, I feel like. You are almost back home here with him, right? And he's very happy to see you here. I feel like he is like a nature god, a nature deity or some kind. He represents the water. We come from water, right? We don't come from the clinical, cleansely orderliness that we surround ourselves with, or many modern people in the Western world surround themselves with. That's not what we come from. That's not where we are built. When we are a little blob here in the mother womb, we are not surrounded. It's not, well, it's a closed environment, yes, but it's DNA. It's inherited. It comes from a long, long bloodline. It's cell creation. we are, as I said, we are created in the same way as we were when we were as old as the Neanderthals, Homo erectus. It's still the same process. It's something about knowing who you were, I feel like. Who you were and where you belong, where your home is, right? Where you truly belong, I feel like. Where your family actually are. Where there is a sense of belonging. Where you can feel it, right? You can feel it when you touch the tree, you know. You just know that. Or when you touch the sea, you just know that this is more right. You can feel it, right? You can feel that it's way more honest, way more you. As I say, if the opening of the door and the coming out of the closet is about you being gay, you would probably seek out communities where you fit, right? And you know it. Like when you touch it, you know it, right? You know that it's the right thing for you. You know that you are in the right place. Your intuition, the blood in your veins, the water in you tells you that you are in the right place. And there's something about the spoken words, the prayer you speak are powerful. What we speak can become our world. It dictates our understanding about the world. The spoken word here can be that maybe you speak different words than you did once. And because you speak different words, you can become a different person. The spoken words here can also be, as I said, let's say you grew up in a Catholic family, you went to church, you followed this doctrine. But was it the doctrine you actually are? Or is it just something you've learned, right, to follow? And inside this doctrine, there are certain words, spoken words here. But if you decide to leave this church to go and be in the Buddhist community, the words, the spoken words are different now, right? They're different. They're different. The lifestyle inside the gay community have different spoken words. There's a different, like from maybe in one environment being judged, you are now suddenly embraced in another one. That's what I feel like. Let's get one more card on the 5 of water here. I get moonlight. Travel, romance, potential. And we see the water here, right? Again, it's like something could potentially emerge in the water here. But with the moonlight and the full moon, and this is a full moon reading in Aries, and the Aries is like the newborn. So it's like someone is being birthed at the moment. I feel like, again, she's almost there. She's almost out of the birthing canal here. She is emerging, right? She hasn't gone quite to the surface yet, but she is going. But it comes with a sense of moonlight is, well, moon is, and I feel like I want to highlight surrounded by the trees here. She's emerging surrounded by the trees. This new environment here that she is, where she's welcome, right? She's being birthed into an environment that, or she's deciding to birth herself into an environment where she will be accepted, that is right for her. But it comes with a sense of sadness. I feel again this sadness here that I'm leaving something. But I have to, right? I have to. Could be the feeling, that when a child is moving out of home, it's all it knows, right? It knows nothing else. It knows the local environment, the neighbors. It doesn't know the big city, or it doesn't know only what you have shown it, right? Only what you have shown your child. So when the child embarks on its own journey out there with no parents around, it has to trust something vital inside that guides it. It's almost like a compass, right? That it has to trust this compass, that it's going in the right direction, that it will go into an environment, into hands, into situations that are going to take care of it, right? But I guess that for all parents who see their children move out, it's a mixed feeling, right? It's, well, we are proud maybe and happy that they are going off to college and becoming more mature and adult. But at the same time, we could worry, right? That will they be safe? Will it be an okay environment for them? Will they eat all right? And all this stuff. And even the one who is being birthed here at this moment could feel that way. I know where I come from. This is all I know, right? I have felt so maybe safe here. Maybe not always happy, right? Maybe not always fulfilled, or maybe not always full. But this is all I know. And now I am embarking on this new lifestyle, perhaps, and I'm not quite sure what it means. So I'm on this travel. I'm traveling towards my birth here. In a moment, she's peeking through the waves here, into this new watery realm where she is surrounded by these trees here. Where she's surrounded by these trees. But there could be a sense of a bit of a melancholy, or a feeling of, what is this going to be like, right? These trees here are almost like these hands, right? That, like, we got you, like we have you here, right? So you just emerge here as this brand new phoenix, and you go towards this new destiny, right? again, the water here, right? It's important that I am in a king of water here, that this water is safe for me. It's a good water, right? It's a water where I can be me, where I am accepted, where I am loved and embraced, and I'm in the hands here of a big father God, right? A water god here, a moon god. Moon can relate to Cancer Piscean energy. I would say he would be Pisces-like, this one. The elderly. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. He is considered, like Aries is the young one. Pisces is the elderly, right? The wise old water here. It's the whale, right? It's the whale of the water, where we are the little blob when we get born. We are the little microbe, the little new one. He is the big whale, right? Who has been in the water for eons. He knows every corner of the earth, ocean. He knows everything. He has a lot of wisdom. As I say, the trees here have a lot of wisdom. It's like returning to, like coming home in a sense of a belonging and community where there is a lot of wisdom. You could say leaving a Catholic church and going into Buddhism, for instance, there is also a lot of knowledge. It's just different, right? It's not the same as the Catholic Church. It believes in different things. It's a different dogma, a different narrative, a different story. Over in the Buddhist environment or the Tao, you have a different teaching, right? So this is a different teacher, you could say, a different voice, a different, it has a watery tone to it, a more emotional, maybe a more embracing, kind, understanding, intuitive, spiritual, psychic tune to it. He's a master of this field, the king of water, right? He's a leader here. He is skilled. And you are wondering if you are going in the right direction, right? Being birthed here, but with a sense of uncertainty, perhaps. Am I birthed into safe water here? And what is this going to be? Because you will now stand in front of a new teacher here. It's a new father, or a new, you're gonna, like the family you grew up in, this was one kind of family, one kind of teaching. This one is another one. It's a different one. It's like the one who really knows who you are here. It could be an internal voice, right? A gut feeling, a womb knowledge, right? A knowledge from the womb. Like when you were created, the womb was the holder of your creation. The womb knows you best, you could say. The womb was the closest thing to your creation. It knows what you were like. It knows your It knows your original self. It was there. It was holding you, right? That is what this is. Like, the womb is feminine, we know that, but the king here can be the representative of that as well. That he is a womb energy as a protector, right? He was the one that was holding you, protecting you. And he listened to you, right? He knows who you are. That's why I believe that, like, mothers, like, they know their children on a level that is so different, right? It's so deep and so, because they have always been connected in a way, right? That's why mothers always know, right? They just know. If they care for their child, they know, right? They know about their child before, even when the child is very young. A mother potentially knows if the child is gay. Like, she just knows. Like, it's so deep inside you. And the womb is the one that has been holding you while you were created, right? It has witnessed all your steps until you get ready to be birthed, right? It's an intuitive sonic imprint that the mother has received. She knows about you, and if we cannot talk about your own real mother, if you don't feel you have that connection with her, I would say Gaia knows. Like Earth, like the nature of Gaia knows. They will know who you are. The imprint was also in the water, in the womb. Like your sonic imprint was in the water, the womb water. The womb water, well, when you give birth, it pours out of the woman, right? But when it is inside, it speaks, right? It has a tone, there's a connection. Women can get in touch with themselves on such a deep level that they can speak with their unborn child. They can hear the story of the unborn child. They know who the unborn child is, even before it's born. They will know about the temperament. They will know about the personality. They will know what the child needs, even before it's born. They will know when a woman is in touch with her feminine side, she will know this. Many women are not in touch with this, right? We have learned to ignore it, but you can develop this sonic version of you. You can speak to your child. You can have conversation with your child before it's born. You will know about the personality, the needs, their original self before they are born. You will know how to protect it from the surrounding world so that it stays intact, so that it stays authentic. Something is coming about this. I feel like I felt it for a long time, that something is changing. Something needs to change about motherhood, about mothers. They need another way. Like, they need to know their children more before they even are birthed. this is what I feel like I have. Um, if you feel like you are at this crossroad and you know you are going towards something, you're not quite sure what it is yet, I want to say you should listen, as I said, to like gather the pieces from different corners. Not limit yourself within the world you are in and what you have been taught. Maybe look towards, as I said, other religions or other political views or minority groups, or give a different maybe oppositional group, give them a minute, right, to speak, to see if there is some kind of truth in what they're saying or something that you can use from that. Read different books, get different, like different, the different impressions that you get from different corners of the world, or different expressions, different narratives, that when you combine them, you will know more about yourself, right? You will know more about, speak to your grandparents, speak to your mother, your father, speak to your teachers, and then speak with yourself, right? Listen to this inner voice. Like trust and intuition here also. Because there's something very wise and old here. And it shows up as a king, so it looks like a father or a man, but I want to say it acts as a protector. It acts as a wise elder, right? It acts as the one who sees that someone is coming back to him, right? Someone is coming back from let's say, a non-spiritual realm, back to a spiritual realm or an emotional realm. From trusting your brain, your head brain, to trusting your gut brain, and your intuition and your feelings and your senses. And it's like returning to a big knowledge center. That's what he represents. It's a knowledge center. But it operates differently than your head brain does. Does that make sense? Don't think it's not gender specific, the card here, right? It just represents there's an enormous amount of knowledge here. And it's different. And you're getting there, right? You're getting there. It becomes, you're birthing you're almost there. Your head is almost peeking through the water here. You're in the birthing canal, and you will get out here, surrounded by these trees, old trees of wisdom. Again, it's like a watery, emotional, psychic, spiritual, intuitive realm of knowledge. It's very big. He's a king here. He's an elderly. He is wise, it's leadership. There's a lot of leadership. It can guide you. It's your leadership. I feel like there's leadership here. When you connect with it, you will no longer be confused. There will be certainty. You know, without any doubt, you know how to move forward, and you will have an enormous amount of gratitude towards this realm here. The trees, it's like they are hands, right? They become those hands that you rely on. You can touch the tree here, and it will provide you with information. You just have to trust the sonic vibe of yours, this way of communicating that is different. But it's going to tell you who you are here. So you can birth yourself, right? You can get out. You can leave the birthing canal. You can peak here. You can get your head out of the water. You can start breathing on your own here. You will be safe, I feel like. And you will be surrounded by new different words here that speak differently to you, right? They will tell you a different story, a different narrative. It's like a religion, right? That it's interesting how we listen, right? We listen to religion even if it doesn't resonate with us. Because we need to stay attached to our caregivers. Eventually those words become our dogma. It becomes normal to us. We don't question it anymore. But what if you were given an entirely different religion? You would believe that one as well. You would go with it. You would trust it. You would believe in it. And that's what I feel. But this is just different. This feels like a conscious shift that you are shifting towards something else deliberately, but not quite knowing what it is to a certain point. You just know that there's something here that is wanting. It wants to talk to you. It has been waiting for you to return, I feel like, or to choose it. It has been waiting for you to choose it more than something else. To rely on it more than something else. And moonlight can talk about, again, as I said, this secret, the uncertainty, when you're not quite sure, you haven't come out of the closet yet, it's hidden, it's still a secret. You are still birthing yourself in secret. You are undergoing this travel towards romance, towards belonging, and with great potential here, right? But it's just not, you're still, you're still not quite out yet. Yeah, you're not quite out. You're not out yet. Not fully, publicly out yet. It's still in this moon process, this bit messy, still a bit confused, not quite certain. But when you decide to trust it, I feel like, when you decide to trust it, he will just open his hand and says, welcome back, right? Welcome back, because I have a lot to tell you here, right? I have a lot to tell you here, to share with you from the time when you were a little blob and I was there, right? I was there, I heard what you said, right? I listened to you. I learned who you are. I remember who you were here. When you were a little baby, but now you're rebirthing yourself as more of an adult. But when you were a little blob, when you were created in the womb, I watched you, right? I know what kind of fish you are, right? I know what kind of fish you are. I know what kind of personality. I know what you wanted. I know what you liked. I know when you slept and when you were awake. I know you, right? I know you here. And it is emerging. It's becoming more and more certain, but it means that you are trusting it more than you may trust your head brain and what you've learned in this life, like what you have been taught from your parents, from school, from society. You know, what you believed about yourself. Again, what hands were you born into? Right? Sometimes this puts even a limit to what you can be in this world. When you are born into poverty, it sometimes creates like an upper level of income. Like you can't imagine more than that. You can't imagine more abundance. You can't imagine more food. You can't imagine more. But is it truly who you were before you learned all of this? Before you saw this? Before you experienced this? Is it truly who you were? And this one is telling you, I know who you were before you saw whatever the hands gave you. I know who you are, right? And there is an enormous amount of gratitude. It's like someone is, I feel like, becoming more of a pagan or vicar or a nature, trusting their God more than what you have learned in school, mathematics, and like you trust. There's a stronger sense of belonging somewhere else, or a stronger sense of peace in a different environment here. Or a different acceptance, right? Where you feel, here I am accepted more. And that's why I go here, right? That's why I am going through this whirlwind inside, changing something. I trust this more because I feel better here. I feel I belong here. I'm at home here. I feel accepted here. And I'm very grateful, right? I'm grateful that I've trusted this new path, even though it has been maybe kind of messy. As I said, all birth is a transformational situation, and it can be confusing because you change from one step or one version into something else, and usually we give something up. We have to give up maybe the brain orientation or trusting what you've learned in this life, or how you have been programmed in this life, to trust something else more. And that is the confusion, right? That is the uncertainty state where something is changing dramatically for you. And it feels maybe terrible actually, because it's like your brain narrative is changing. You have to orient your brain, your head brain, towards listening to your body and your gut more than listening to what the outside world has to tell you. And becoming more and more trusting, more and more certain about this message, and then actually go where you feel like you belong. So I feel like this is the fulfillment of Aries. This is the fulfilling of the leadership. The leader voice is coming in more clearly. It's no longer uncertain. It will come in. It comes in here and it will tell you, right? It will tell you if you trust it. Like this is like a knowledge base. It's like, again, like a womb memory base. It's like it remembers, right? It remembers who you are before everything else. It remembers, and it can tell you, it will show you, like you will feel uncomfortable if you're not in the right place. You just have to trust that uncomfortability as an advice, as a voice, and a wise one. Your leadership can be found in your gut. If you trust it, it will tell you when you are in the right environment. Right? It will tell you, it will show you. You will shiver. You will feel uncomfortable. You will feel sweaty or cold, or it's a different language, right? It's a body language. You have to learn it. Learn to decipher it. When things are all right, you will feel it. You will feel calm in your body. You will feel relaxed. You will feel warm. You will feel comfortable. And you will feel the opposite if you are in an environment that you cannot trust, that is not right for you, where you don't belong. This is what I feel like I have for this full moon in Aries. I know I get it. It's like I speak about something that seems like it belongs to a different race, or it belongs to a different species. Like I talk about sonic waves through the water, like a dolphin, right? And we are not dolphins, but we do have elements of watery DNA in us. Actually, we are connected DNA-wise with everything here. Trees, certain trees, we share up till 50% DNA with certain trees. We are related. And there's something here that can tell you more about yourself. Like who you originally were before all the noise or all the stuff you've learned. And if you start listening to it, this one will not be uncertainty anymore. It will become clarity. It will become direction. It will become your new voice. It will become what you speak and believe in here. And you will know, because now you are in this environment and you love it, right? Because this is where you belong. This is where you feel home. So I hope it makes sense, even though I talk about this. It's like learning a new skill, right? It's like you have a guide inside you here who knows you from way, way back. It's in your blood. It's part of your DNA, original DNA. We have just forgotten about it. We have decided to listen to what we were told or what we have been forced to interact into or with. We have to attach to caretakers, no matter what kind of hands they are. And sometimes they're not the best hands. Sometimes they don't care about your needs. Sometimes you are not given or provided with the best upbringing, caring upbringing. But there is something in you that remembers. If you allow it to speak to you, slow down, listen, it will speak to you. I hope this helped. Take care of yourself, everybody out there. As always, I send you love and light. Bye-bye.